Hello, my name is Arthur, and in the last video we got this very simple rigid body vehicle moving with the arrow keys. And in this video we're going to look at getting a camera onto the units. Now, we're not just going to have one unit, we're looking towards, well, this is a continuation of the tank videos, so we're looking to make something kind of RTS sort of range. So we're going to get rid of this camera. Let's get this out of the way. So we'll get rid of the camera from the scene. Let's clean up the scene a little bit too. Let's put in a spatial. And we'll just call this map assets. And let's move everything into this except for the vehicle. That way we don't have to have that cluttering everything up here. So we're going to drop that into there, and then we can just collapse that. So we're going to need more than one vehicle in the scene. So we'll just start with two to begin with. So we'll put in a second vehicle. Let's move this up. And let's give a script to the map. So we're going to call that map GD for this one. And it's going to end up with a bunch of stuff from the map, from the world GD in the tank project. So we're going to take a bunch of script from that project and use it in this project, but that'll come later. So on this one, we're going to go var temp equals get children. And then we'll use a for index in temp. For index in temp, if index is in group player, and then we're just going to pass for now. I don't know what that is. We'll just clear that out of there. And we're going to add the vehicle to the group player. Now we're going to need to make a camera. So we'll start with a spatial. We'll just call it cam. And this will be basically the exact same camera as was made in the tank game. For now it's not going to move, but we'll give it all of the pieces, assuming that later on we're going to make it move. So we'll call this one H, we'll call this one V for horizontal and vertical, and camera. Then we'll give this a script, and we'll just cancel that. Yeah, we don't really have enough folders here. We'll just give the camera its own folder. So we'll call it camera, and we'll save this into there. We'll save that, and then we'll give it a script. And what we want this script to do is have a function die queue free. And that's what we'll need from it. for now. Okay, on the vehicle, what we're going to need is a position. We're going to need a position for the camera to go. So we'll add a child node, position 3D. We'll call it cam mount. So it'll be the camera mount. And we'll pull that up right around where we think the camera should appear. I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and something like that should work out. So that gives us somewhere. Now on the vehicle script, we're going to need to be able to instance the camera. So we're going to var preload var camera equals preload, and we'll get the address for the camera. So we'll copy the path, paste it into here, and that'll be okay. Now we're going to need to make a HUD. So we'll start making a HUD. I've already found a lot of the pieces and experimented a bit with this. So we'll go HUD. We're going to give it an HBox container, a button, a label on the button, a second button, and a label on that button. We'll call this button next, and this button accept. For the labels, for text, we're just going to put the number 1 on the accept, and on the next label we'll put the word next. And in order to change the size of this text, we actually have to put in a font, but we're going to skip that for now. So let's start with the HBox container. Usually I find 48 is a good button size. So we're going to drop the menu, the HBox, down 600 minus 48. So that gives us a button size of 48. And then we'll just look at how to get that working. So we'll give the rectangle a minimum size of 48 in height, and I'm going to make it 64 wide. So it's a substantial enough button. This button will do the same. So we'll give it a minimum size of 64 by 48. And that'll be okay. Now let's give a folder for UI. So that'll be somewhere to save that. So we'll save the HUD, save scene as. We'll go up into UI. We'll save that. And then we'll need a script. So that's wrong. We want to put it onto the HUD. Okay, so that looks good. We'll hook up the buttons. So we'll get a button press signal coming out of next. We'll get a button press signal coming out of accept. And we're going to need a couple of variables. Variable units equals, that will be an array. And then variable unit index equals 1. So we'll always start at an index of 1. Now we'll need a function add units. Body. So that will receive a body. Units dot push back body. And if units dot size equals 1 on accept press. And on accept pressed is where we'll change cameras. So that's add units. So we're going to need to go to map. And let's see. We're just going to drop the HUD into map. I think that will work out fine. So it's just basically always going to be there. So we'll drop that into there. And I don't know what happened there. So this will be able to just go indexes in group player $HUD dot add units index. So that will pass all of the vehicles, all of the things in the group player over to the HUD. Okay, so next we'll deal with on next pressed. So next is to just iterate through the units. So what we'll do with that is we'll go if unit index is less than units dot size, unit index plus equals 1. Else unit index equals 1. So that basically will clamp us within the size of the array. Then on accept pressed, we will be units unit index minus 1, because the unit index starts at 0, but this counter starts at 1, so we have to subtract that 1 from it to make it work. Take camera so we'll go take camera there. And then we're also going to need a function to remove cameras. So that'll be handled here on the HUD. Remove camera. It will receive a body. for index in units. If index okay, if not index dot not index, oh, if index not equal to body, remove camera, index dot remove camera. And that was wrong. And we'll need to tab this in. Okay, so the vehicle is going to need a take camera and a remove camera. So take camera, and we're going to need to check. We're going to need to have a variable for has camera. So that will start false. Then on take camera, has camera equals true. So that should get us started. Variable scene equals cam. Dot instance add child scene transform equals $sign. It's not registering camera mount yet. $sign camera mount dot transform. I think that should work. And then it will go remove HUD remove camera. So this is we're going to need an onReady var to access the HUD. So onReady variable HUD equals get parent dot get node HUD. That should work. So here we would go HUD remove camera, and let's check what we called that. So it is remove camera. HUD remove camera self, and I don't know why it's going so nutso there. Maybe that will help it to calm down. I think that works. And then we need a function remove camera. If has camera, $, cam, dot, die. So that should tell the cam to go away. And it's going to complain because there's no camera on the vehicle, but that's because it's just not keeping up with what's going on. So let's see, we have vehicle 1, vehicle 2, we have the camera mount in place. The HUD should be functioning, hopefully. And the camera has its die function. So hopefully that's all clear. It's a little bit convoluted because it's going from map to, like, we're already jumping around in the scripts quite a bit, but that's kind of the way things work. So we'll give that a try and see what errors we come across here. So index size on base array. Okay, so that's syntax. Okay. So we got one vehicle hung up in the trees. Let's do something about that. I guess I added a vehicle, but I didn't do anything with it afterwards. So let's pull that back where it can see the other video. Clearly we were changing cameras, so there's some issues. So let's go transform, snap object to floor. These land on the floor nicely, so that's working good. So the problem is there's a problem in the script for the HUD. So on next pressed, we need to $, accept label, dot set text string unit index. That way our count is changing on the button so we can see which vehicle we have selected. So it's going from 1 to 2. We can select unit 2. Whoops. We can select unit 1. We're changing cameras and everything's working. So the next thing to try to do is to add in another vehicle. I'll make sure it works with 3. So we'll add in a third vehicle, we'll bring him up, transform, snap him to the floor, play. And this should scale fine. So now we can go to 3, 2, attempt to call die, null instance. Okay, I see what we've done here. I can't do it there. If has camera, we have to tell it camera is false. Or has camera. Because otherwise everything's going to think it has a camera after it has the camera once. So that should all be working now. so we can shuffle through the different units. They all still just drive on the keyboard, so they're all going to do the same thing. So, as this is a continuation of the previous series with the tanks, in the next video what we're going to do is we're going to modify the map script using script from the experiments with the tank. So we'll get in the ability to navigate our units by mouse click, and we'll bring in the same flag system so that we can set a path for them. We'll also change the vehicle script, and we're actually going to rewrite the vehicle script and call it unit, because that script will be universal for any unit, not just for these vehicles. So that's what we'll do in the next video. I'm not going to rewrite the entire script that was made in the previous videos, but we'll put to work the stuff learned in the previous videos and use the script that was already written, and hopefully that's satisfactory. I know that everybody isn't going to have seen those videos, but that's kind of the course that this project is on, is it's taking the lessons from the last experimental project and bringing them into this experimental project and seeing what can be done with the different camera idea on this project. So hopefully this was helpful, and until the next video, take care.